The American Association for the Advancement of Science suggests that popular writing makes science real and usable to others, and that academic writing enables scientists to succeed through publishing. But studies suggest that not enough university science classes require writing. Riley Nelson, a professor at Brigham Young University who teaches biology and entomology classes and who incorporates field study into all of his courses, agrees.
When I was a young college student, I was asked to write only a half a dozen research papers, all during my undergraduate career. I thought this was crazy for how important writing is for formulating ideas and for passing on information to another generation.
Some professors tell themselves they don't have time to grade writing assignments, but Professor Nelson thinks that a teacher can assign a mix of writing assignments, some that are just checked off and some where students receive feedback.
I ask students to write. I don't read every bit of what they write. I think there's a lot of good learning that occurs without somebody underlining things or even saying that they're going to rearrange the words, so editing, for instance. We're talking about writing, but I want people to have the experiential learning experience where they're smelling and using their other senses, and they're also translating that experience into writing or even art.
Professor Nelson gives 4 types of writing assignments: a field notebook, a research paper, 3 event response papers, and a reflective section of the final. These field notes help students write their nature experience paper, which asks students to combine library and field research, describe their methods, and state and interpret their findings. Professor Nelson grades this paper, giving careful feedback. Some students use the process he models for them in their careers. For example, he has published with students about the disappearance of an aquatic insect from a local river, the effect of grazing on biodiversity in Mongolia, the failure of a mitigation project to bring insects back, and many others. But Professor Nelson emphasizes that he doesn't have students keep field notebooks and write scientific papers just so the STAR students will succeed.
My goal is not to convert every one of my students into a career scientist. I want people trained to think like a scientist, so when they read a newspaper article, they will see some of the processes that are left out in journalistic writing. Writing field notes and papers trains them to be more critical thinkers so they can be better citizens of the world. This sounds impossible to accomplish, but it is to avoid the problem we're having in society right now with willingness to accept conspiracy theories that are nearly completely baseless.
In addition to these 2 rigorous research-based kinds of writing, Professor Nelson asks students to attend 3 university or department forums or seminars that might be related to biology.
After they attend one of these things, I ask them to write a paragraph about what the speaker said about the subject. Then they have to reflect how that relates to the experience of what they're studying in biology class. They can write, "I didn't understand exactly what they were talking about in this talk, but I can see that this person had an immense amount of enthusiasm for what they were doing." The students often close by saying something like, "I want to make sure that my life includes that enthusiasm." I call these serendipity assignments, trying to seek meaning in everyday experience and writing something about it as a reflection.
In addition to these reflective opportunities, Professor Nelson asks students to reflect during part of their final exam, which is mostly multiple choice, based on the higher levels of Bloom's taxonomy, but Professor Nelson also has students respond to reflective prompts.
I leave at the end of the test a section where they are to write a paragraph or 2 about the major short ideas from this class that they will carry with them the longest. I tell them I'll give them full credit for just putting something in the space. The next question they reflect on is, of all the things we talked about in this class, which one is going to be most influential in pushing you to take better care of the world that we live in?
Science classes are often concerned about objective facts and principles, but Professor Nelson gives these reflective writing assignments to help students recognize the ways in which the life sciences have transformed their capacity to make sense, not of just aquatic insects, but also of the larger world.
A substantial number of students write, "You have opened my eyes to a different way of looking at the world. I'm not looking at it as a pure consumer. I can see it through the eye of the plant, even though plants don't even have eyes, or I can see it through the eyes of the animal. That makes me feel good. I've changed their perspective. I'm an old man now, and I've had students come back 20 years later after the course and say, 'Thank you for changing my view.' That was quite different from what I expected of a biology class."
When science teachers model both the process of writing scientific papers and reflecting on the meaning of what they've learned, their students become better able to recognize bad science when they see it, perceive the world differently than they did before, and possess the skills to communicate their new perceptions to others.